Hi, I'm Doug from Dynamic Computing, and welcome to episode 85 of 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast. This week, I want to talk about retargetable graphics on the Amiga. Of course, since day one when the Amiga 1000 came out, the Amiga had superior graphics to just about anything else out there, anywhere close to the price range. I mean, the Macintosh had both colors, both black and white. And PCs were either monochrome with a green screen or an orange screen, or if you're lucky, you had CGA, which was really, really ugly. I mean, just think of those purple colors. Or you maybe, if you had a lot of money, had an EGA graphics card and an EGA monitor with a whopping 16 colors. Where our Amiga, 4096 color palette with anywhere from 2 to all 4096 colors on screen at once, depending on what mode you're in. It was beautiful, and nothing could match it for the price. Now, while the other machines did eventually catch up and honestly surpass the Amiga in the amount of colors and the size of the display, at first the Amiga did not have any video add-ons to enhance the video resolutions. But after a while, late 80s, early 90s, we started to see things like the DCTV, which I reviewed a couple of months ago, a year and a half ago. The link's up there in the description. Or the Ham-E. And then not long after that, the magazine started whispering about retargetable graphics on the Amiga, or the ability to use an actual graphics card to give your Amiga even better graphics. Before long, we started to see these video cards come out, like the Retina card, the Picasso card, the CyberGraphics card. Great Valley Products here in the United States had a fantastic retargetable graphics card that was available for Zorro Amigas. They used fairly standard VGA chipsets to enhance the screen resolution of our Amigas, so we could display 640 by 480 rock solid non-interlaced, 800 by 600, 1024 by 768, or even above in 256 color modes, or in many cases you could go to 64,000, 256,000, or occasionally even 16 million colors on screen at one time. At first, most of these boards used proprietary software to do their magic. Like, you'd have to use the Retina software to get the Retina card to work, or the Picasso software to get the Picasso card to work. So they were only going to work with very, very specific programs that were coded for it, and you couldn't necessarily easily use your Workbench in these high-resolution modes. And you absolutely couldn't use games in the modes. That was just not even in the cards. Now, when Amiga OS 2.0 shipped with the Amiga 3000 in the early 90s, that started to change as Commodore started integrating some code in the Amiga OS that made retargetable graphics more realistic. And they started to come up with kind of a more standardized way of addressing windows and icons and everything. So retargetable graphics could be used more easily in Workbench. Now, retargetable graphics cards were quite popular in the United States. A lot of us had Amiga 2000s and then Amiga 3000s back in the day, and we wanted to get the absolute highest quality images out of it. We were doing things like video work, maybe some desktop publishing, that kind of thing, graphics work. And so having a nice high-resolution graphics card was a good thing. And so they were fairly popular over here. They were fairly expensive, though. You could expect to pay as much or more for a video card as you would for just buying an Amiga 500 off the shelf in some cases. When AGA Amigas came out and Amiga OS 3.0 came out, retargetable graphics were enhanced even more, and it became easier for people to write software that could talk directly to these video cards and display Workbench or almost any program right on the Amiga's public screens. Before long, two people really started standing out in the software driver race: the Picasso drivers and the CyberGraphics drivers. Picasso 96, as it came to be known over a period of time, has become kind of the de facto standard for high-resolution retargetable graphics on the Amiga, even to this day, and it's still available as a retail product from our friends over at icomp.day. The CyberGraphics drivers haven't been updated in years. I wish they would be. That'd be kind of cool, but hey, c'est la vie. You probably use the Picasso 96 drivers possibly without thinking about it too much. If you use WinUAE and you use some of the retargetable graphics modes, you're using Picasso 96 on there in order to get those modes to display properly on your screen. Let's take a look at a couple of graphics cards and what retargetable graphics can really do on your Amiga. We'll take a look first at my handy dandy Amiga 2000 that doesn't get nearly enough love on my channel. She's loud though, isn't she? This Amiga 2000 has a Picasso 2 card in it, and you'll see even though we're in a nice high resolution mode, this is probably 1024 by 768 in probably 64,000 colors, it is so snappy to move around in Workbench. It's much faster than say a 16 color ECS mode. Just orders of magnitude faster, even though this is one of the slower cards in the market. The other benefit is if you look up here, we've got the full 1.895 megabytes of chip RAM available. This Amiga 2000 has a mega chip, so it's got 2 megs of chip RAM. And even though I've got this gorgeous high resolution background on here, and I'm working in tens of thousands of colors, it doesn't even touch the chip RAM. You open up new windows, doesn't even touch the chip RAM in here. Really nice. Now you can change your resolution just by going into screen mode, and you see Picasso has all of these different screen modes available. So if I wanted to change it to a 640 by 480 in a 24-bit mode, no problem at all. Just click use, and it should change the screen to a nice 24-bit 640 by 480 screen, no problems at all. And there we are. It enlarges the picture. Now also be aware that sometimes you have to tweak the settings for retargetable graphics on an Amiga, and we used to have to really do the same thing on DOS and Windows machines back in the day, so it's really not that uncommon. We've got this thing called Picasso 96 mode, and what this allows you to do, it allows you to choose the screen resolution that you're working in. In this case, it says 640 by 480 that I'm testing. High color, 256 color, true color, and adjust the clock speed of the chip, frame size, border size, whether it's interlaced or not, and then test these settings to make sure that your display can handle these specific resolutions. If they can't, and it gives you a message that you're out of range, you have to decrease the clock speed a little bit to get things to work. Now, in a system like my Picasso, like if we wanted to go true color 800 by 600, it's got to go all the way down to 29 kilohertz or megahertz in order to run. Let's see if it actually works. I don't even remember if it does. Nope, can't display it. So I would have to actually go in and change, maybe switch it to a double scan mode, change the frequency if possible to get it to display on my monitor. You may have to do a little tweaking to get things to work for you. Now, many programs will allow you to access retargetable graphics right out of the box. So if we go into something here, let's find a good one, a graphics program. Let's go to Amiga Vision. Now I have set this in the past to open up in a high resolution retargetable display. This is not what you'd normally see in Amiga Vision here, okay? This is an actual retargetable display. Well, how do we do that? We use a cool little program to give us an opportunity to switch displays, and that program is called New Mode. When we launch New Mode, we can see Amiga Vision here is set up in a specific way. We're going to take a look. It's going to launch in 800 by 600 in 8-bit mode. Fantastic. Now let's delete that. Boom. Now what happens when we launch Amiga Vision? New Mode detects there's no mode that's been set up for it, so it asks us what mode we want to open it in. Now, of course, we could choose our standard NTSC or PAL modes, but we also now have all of these choices for high resolution Picasso modes. I'm going to open it up in Picasso 2, 1K by 768. Now, the first time you do this with a program, don't click save, because if it doesn't work in that resolution, you don't really want to have to go back and delete the reference to it in the new mode program. So just do this time and see if it works. If it works, great. If not, we go back and we launch it again and see what we can do. In this case, it's not going to work, so I'm going to have to reboot and try it again. Now, since we tried that mode and it didn't work, we'll try Amiga Vision again. It's going to ask us the mode again because we told it to just use it one time and not save it. And we'll try a lower resolution and see if it's happier with that. We'll go back to 800 by 600, 16-bit, or 8-bit, sorry. And now, ba-boom, it loads up perfectly fine and works without a hitch. Everything that you can do in Amiga Vision, you can do when it's in 800 by 600 mode. Not a problem at all. Other programs support these modes natively. Like if we go into Personal Paint here from our friends at Aeon, this actually has a feature where it will automatically detect if you have a retargetable graphics card and Picasso 96 running. And it will launch the program and give us the option to change the screen to a much, much higher color mode. So we're going to choose, just for laughs, let's choose 320 by 240 in 8-bit mode. So now we are in an actual 256 color mode. I just got to change that to 256 colors. And look at our palette over here. 256 colors. And the beauty of this is you can actually load up AGA images and they work just fine in 256 color mode. So here I'm loading up an AGA image, loads up absolutely beautifully, no problems at all, on a standard Amiga 2000. Other programs like ImageFX here, these are going to be able to launch and run in the high color modes too. Now, sometimes you'll have a limitation, like ImageFX here on my Picasso 2 card will only work in 256 color modes for the preview screen. You see, I've got this set at, it's probably 800 by 600 or 1K by 768 in 256 colors. If I try and run this in 24-bit mode, it does not show the proper displays. It just doesn't work properly. Not sure why, but it works fine in 256 color mode. Now, the other cool thing, see that's 256 color mode, is you can render it in much higher resolution modes. We're going to choose Cyber Graphics Renderer here, and we're going to tell it render that in 6540 by 480, 24-bit pixels, and render, and it will render it perfectly in 24-bit right in ImageFX. It's only the preview screen that sometimes does not work with some programs. There's even a program, and I'll put the link in the description, called TV Paint 3.6. Now, this program is still in development. It's up to like TV Paint 11 or 12 for the PC and I think the Macintosh platform. But the Amiga version, they stopped at 3.6 and then they released it totally and completely free. So this is available as a free program that only works in retargetable graphics modes. So this was booting up and it won't work in ECS or even AGA without doing some tricks. But you can modify and work with high resolution graphics, no issues at all on this program. Aw, isn't that sweet? It's when my wifey and I got engaged. And oh geez, it cuts off her ring there. I guess that's in a higher resolution mode. But full 24-bit, full retargetable graphics support, and totally and completely free. I'll put the link to that in the description. So I would say about 85% of the programs that I use work absolutely fine with retargetable graphics. But what about those programs that don't work with RTG? Deluxe Paint is a good example. It just doesn't, even though Deluxe Paint 5, here it says you can open up the retargetable graphics screen, it ain't gonna work. So if I wanted to do a 320 by 200 ham image. Let's find that here. Ham lace, there we go. What's going to happen here if a retargetable graphics won't handle it? Well, we're going to click use, and in this case, because I have got a retargetable graphics card with pass-through, I can actually open the program right up. And here you see, it opens up Deluxe Paint perfectly well in 320 by, what did I choose? 320 by 400 mode. Load up any image that you want to. There's going to change it to ham mode here, 320 by 200. Opens it up absolutely beautifully, no problem at all. We want to go back to our RTG mode. We're going to do Amiga M. Boom, right back to our RTG mode. Go back to ham 6 mode, no problem. Switches between them. Now, the Picasso is nice because it has a pass-through. If you can see there on the back of my Amiga 2000, you've got a video in and a video out. One of those comes from my Amiga's RGB port. Let's talk a little bit more about how that works. Of course, you can always just have a second monitor, like a 1084 or something like that, plugged into your RGB and it'll display. But with this Picasso card, look what we can do. I've got in my RGB port, I have one of Retronic Design's RGB to component adapters, which I reviewed last year, a year and a half ago. I'll put the link right up there that you can go and watch that video. This probably gives you the absolute best quality of any RGB output that I've found for the money. Now that goes into a GBS 8220, which is an absolutely mediocre quality upscaler that will take an RGB image and output it at 31 kilohertz and usually does a perfectly mediocre job. But when you combine it with the component signal from from Retronic Design's interface, this thing suddenly looks absolutely gorgeous. These are about 30 bucks. Francis's adapter's about 40 bucks. We're talking, or 40 or $50. So we're talking 70, 80 bucks, and you have an absolutely gorgeous video output capability, VGA compatible. This goes into the Picasso 2, and then whenever it receives a signal from the RGB port that it wants to display a standard Amiga mode, boom, it just switches over to it, and we can see it just fine. Beautiful. But if we have an RTG card without a pass-through, how can we do things? Well, let's take a look. Here is my lovely Amiga 4000. Now this has a CyberGrafx 64 3D card in it, giving us a beautiful image. Now this is a Zorro 3 card, which is why I use it in this. It is orders of magnitude faster than my Picasso 2 card for a lot of reasons. But this particular one, even though it's physically capable of adding on an additional card and giving it a pass-through, this one does not have a pass-through. So how can I switch modes on here? Well, very simply. This is a 15 kilohertz capable monitor. I reviewed this one in my 15 kilohertz monitor review a couple months ago. There's a link right up there to it if you want to learn more about 15 kilohertz monitors on the Amiga. But what I did is I used one of the standard RGB to VGA adapters, plugged it in the RGB port. Then I have a little $20 switch box here underneath all of these cables. Not that switch box, this one. So if I want to switch to RGB mode, boom, I hit a button and it would switch the screen over to RGB mode, which I have nothing displayed, but that's okay. Now this specific monitor requires me, when I switch modes, to manually adjust the screen, but that's just the monitor that's doing that. That's not the Amiga or the switch box. This whole thing, 20 bucks maybe for a VGA switch box, and now I can use both RGB and retargetable graphics on the same monitor with just flipping a little switch. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now how about something fancy like my lovely vampirized Amiga 1000. This is a standard Amiga 1000 from 1986 with a vampire installed in it, and using one of Eduarana's adapters to relocate the CPU socket, giving us full vampire capabilities on an Amiga 1000. There's of course a link to the video right there. So how do we use standard OCS modes on here? We've got a vampire, and so it displays an HDMI. Well, what are we going to do? Well, again, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I take a standard RGB to SCART cable and I hook that up to one of these little $30 numbers here that converts SCART into HDMI. These are available on Amazon. I've done reviews on these before. Again, link right up there. Absolutely wonderful. So you hook that up to the RGB port of the Amiga. Then when you launch an OCS capable program, it activates the RGB port, and I've got this little number here. There, an HDMI switcher right there. This particular one handles 3 different HDMI inputs and 1 output, so I can have up to 3 different devices connected to this. But I launch my program, I hit the button, bingo bango, up comes a blank screen because it didn't switch over to my program. There's my program. This is our good friend Personal Paint running at 320 by 200 in 32 color mode. Works absolutely fine. Displays HDMI out, no problem at all. And you can use this all day long. When you want to switch back to your standard Retargetable Graphics vampire screen, you do your Amiga M to switch screens. Press the button on the little switch box, and she comes right back up in her 24-bit glory. Seriously, that whole solution cost me $50, $60 maybe, and it's really not inconvenient. So all of the switching solutions are easy to implement and fairly inexpensive. I mean, you might spend $25 on the VGA solution, $70 on the most expensive one, which is the GBS 8220, and then Francis from Retronic Designs RGB to component interface, and the HDMI solution somewhere in between. Not that expensive, easy to switch between resolutions on your monitor. Now, how do we get retargetable graphics on our Amigas today? Good question. You just saw the Vampire. The Vampire easily has incredible retargetable graphics solutions. It can handle 720p or even 1080p if you've got a monitor that can handle it. It runs at kind of a special frequency, but even in modes like 1280 by 720, those are incredible modes to be able to view on your Amiga. You're going to absolutely love it. The speed of the Vampire's graphics are phenomenal. You won't even believe it. I mean, it's just unbelievable when I use my Amiga 1200 or my Amiga 1000 with the Vampire's retargetable graphics. It's unbelievable. I don't want to hear any whining about, oh, retargetable graphics, that's not Amiga. If it doesn't use the Denise chip, it's not a real Amiga. I don't want to hear about it. It's nonsense. From the beginning, the Amiga was designed for modularity and expandability. All right? You can add accelerators, you can add hard drives, sound adapters, sound cards, video retargetable graphics. They've been able to handle it since almost the beginning, easily since 1987 when the Amiga 2000 came out, and even before that, these expansions were theoretically possible. And it's a testament to the Amiga that it can do this, that I can take a 1986 Amiga 1000 and upgrade it with a little card for a couple $100 to the point where I'm getting 24-bit graphics, incredible speed, fast hard drive, 128 megs of RAM, and it still keeps the soul of the Amiga. It still 100% feels like an Amiga to me. Now, if you want an Amiga 500 with 512 kilobytes of RAM and a single floppy drive and plug it into your little black and white TV, fine, have fun with that. Go to town on that little guy. But if you want an Amiga 4000 with retargetable graphics, an 060 chip, multiple SCSI drives, and a 16-bit sound card, cool, the Amiga can handle it because Amiga makes it possible. I'd like to say thank you to my wonderful patrons who help make shows like this possible. If you want to join in the fun and become a patron and help support the show, just pop on over to patreon.com/10mark. $2 a month, you're in like Flynn, and you can be in this exciting list. Who wouldn't want to be in this list? Seriously, who wouldn't want to be there? Thanks for dropping by today. Hope this gives you a better appreciation and understanding of what retargetable graphics can do for your Amiga. Please like and subscribe. I love to hear from you guys too, so comment below. Tell me what you use for retargetable graphics on your Amiga or what you used back in the day. Or just tell me that I'm full of hot air and putting retargetable graphics in an Amiga makes me the devil or something. Either way, that's fine. But until next time, this is Doug from 10 Minute Amiga Retrocast, signing out.